Awesome. Well, it's great to be here at Future Proof with everyone in beautiful Huntington Beach. And as we were thinking about what we could share with you, we naturally thought, where is the future of this business going? What can we be doing to future-proof our business models to better provide advice to investors and help our advisors be successful? And of all the topics that we discussed, these two rose to the surface quickly, and it was all around behavioral finance and AI. So we're going to bridge those two together with the workflow that we think will be cutting edge for our advisors to leverage. So with that, let's go ahead and get started with all things behavioral finance with Dr. Daniel Crosby.
All right. Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you, Thank you, everyone, for being here. It's great to have everyone out here. So I'm going to start because I want to start with how the conversation around AI and this whole man or woman versus a machine thing has gone. I believe that we're talking about it in an overly binary way, as though it's one thing or another, and I really think it's a little of both, right? I think it's a little of both, and I think that the world of chess is instructive here. If you look at chess, until about 20 years ago, right? Until about 20 years ago, the human would routinely beat the machine, but then computers got good enough that humans would routinely get whipped by the machine. But what we know now is that a human with a machine is the only thing that's able to beat a machine, and I think that's a beautiful analog for our business. So it's not will advisors triumph or will AI triumph, but rather how can we use AI and behavioral finance together to do something truly special? And I think you're starting to see more and more evidence that behavioral finance, tech-enabled behavioral finance, is the future. Schwab came out with a piece just a few months ago that talked about how advisors who were using behavioral finance tools had 3.3 times the asset flows from existing clients as those who were not. Merrill Lynch did a meta-analysis, right? A meta-analysis that looked at all of the ways that advisors add value in 2016, and they found that the blocking and tackling stuff, product selection, asset allocation, was adding about 30 to 60 basis points of value per year, but that the behavioral piece, client assessment, behavioral coaching, was adding 65 to 240 basis points per year. So we see again and again that the most value that an advisor can add to her business is to be a behaviorally informed advisor. So how practically do we do that, though, right? Because for so long, I'd encourage you to take a screenshot of this, by the way, and jump on and try out this tool while I talk about it. Because for so long, the application of behavioral finance has been as good or as bad as the advisor themselves. It's been as good or as bad as the emotional intelligence, the psychological mindedness of that individual advisor. But we believe with tech, we can put the power of behavioral finance in an embedded way in the hands of advisors all over the world and really level the playing field for advisors to add their greatest value. So the way that we do this is with a short assessment called the BeFi 20. This is a 20-question assessment. It takes 2 minutes and 45 seconds on average to complete. Right? 2 minutes and 45 seconds to really deep understanding of who your clients are, okay? And what's so cool about this is we developed it for one purpose, and we found sort of an off-label secondary use case for it that is so compelling. Because we initially developed this tool for you to better understand your clients and have them feel empathized with and connected with, and it absolutely does that. Right? It measures their financial values, their financial personality across 5 different dimensions. It looks at things like, are they direct or indirect in how they communicate about money, right? How worried are they about their finances? How central is money to their concept of self? Are they more individualistic or collectivistic in their thinking? And are they more present or future-oriented in how they think about money? All of this stuff it measures, but there's an off-label use case for it that we frankly didn't anticipate at first, and we only figured out what this was when we listened to our advisors. Because last year we surveyed thousands of advisors, and we found that the number one thing our advisors were asking us for was personalization and customization. And we feel like behavioral finance is in an enormously privileged position to add that kind of that kind of benefit to our clients' lives. And what the BeFi 20 does, when paired with AI, is it allows you to create reporting structures that are personalized to the preferences, the values, and the personality of your client. No more boilerplate. Suddenly, you are speaking to the things that mean the most to them. So I'm going to kick it to Mike now to talk us through what that looks like in practice.
So we got together with several advisors, and we asked them where they spent the majority of their time servicing their clients, specifically around trading and rebalancing. And what we learned were there was a lot of similarities in the types of work that was being performed by all advisors. We also saw a lot of inefficiency in the way that technology was being deployed and used. And this inefficiency was causing for firms to not be able to personalize responses to to investors fast enough. We took this problem statement and put it in front of our design team, our engineering team, and our product team. And what we learned was, what we put in front of them was this problem statement. And we said, how about you take these things that are taking minutes or hours to produce? How can you condense this down into seconds? And so what we did is we developed a series of wireframes and mock-ups. We iterated on that and ended up with a prototype. We got back together with the same advisors that we had interviewed early on, and every single firm we met with said, if you guys are able to deliver this, there will be absolutely no comparison in this industry. This is going to be a game changer for us. I would urge all of you to visit orion.com/no-comparison. You can follow along with our journey on this whole product. So there's a few key workflows that we started with on this tool. The first of them is very related to risk alignment. So if an asset class gets out of alignment, your score may go too high and you need to work that back down. That's one approach for risk alignment. We'll give you the different trading scenarios, put those right in your hands to make informed decisions on that front. We also have a model management workflow that we can account for. So two that I'm going to focus on today, one specifically, around raising cash and deploying cash or investing cash. Let's say that a client comes to an advisor, to one of you today, and says, I need to raise $30,000 for some reason. Well, that seems like an easy enough task, but all of you know that that's actually a lot more complicated than it might sound like on the surface. There are a lot of different teams you have to touch. You might have to log into multiple applications to support that. We've condensed that down again into a few second workflow. So you'll see here the very first thing is that you press raise cash. All right, simple as that. We give you a nice dashboard to work. We give you a nice dashboard to work through to do that. You simply enter in how much money that you're trying to raise, in this case $30,000. And from there, we go ahead and we recommend, sorry, I'm struggling with this. Yeah. Anyway, so we recommend a series of different rebalancing patterns, right? We automatically hit our rebalancing engine. We'll showcase a pro rata rebalance. We'll show you a tax optimized rebalance, a little bit more of an aggressive rebalance where we'll sell the most out of alignment positions for you, show you that impact, as well as a full rebalance getting all the way back to your target. But along the way, we're illustrating the cost basis that's going to be realized from that type of a trade. We're showing the number of trades that are occurring. And then we have a whole series of detailed analytics that will support that. Everything from stress testing to style boxes, I mean, everything under the sun that help you make these informed decisions about what type of trades you want to present to your client. At the end of that, before we get to this part, what you're able to do is generate a client-ready report. But what we heard from all these advisors was that, listen, it's great that you have all these analytics and you have this report. I still need help bringing the message home, especially if this is something that's gone through a chain of different teams. And that's where the artificial intelligence comes into play. You can see this smart summary. We're generating this on the fly based on all the information we captured about the scenario, including what the client's asking for, $30,000, what their tax sensitivity level was, what their risk profile was, and what type of impact was a result of that. Did their risk score change? What are those different measures? Now, this particular one, this is a fairly generic summary, if you will. Revolutionary, right? If I was up here a year ago and talking to you about a smart summary generated between a rebalancing engine and an advisor, you tell me that's crazy business. This is happening right now. This is amazing, right? But where it gets to be really good is when you hit this personalized button. And when you hit the personalized button, what we do is we actually take all the content that we know about this person in terms of their behavioral finance persona, and we modify the output and make it in a very highly personalized manner that resonates with the investor. So we're speaking to this investor. If it happens to be the minimizer investor, we give them a language that's protective and very secure, right? It's this type of nuance that just absolutely builds the trust between you all, the advisors, and the investors, helps the investors make better, more informed decisions, and ultimately leads to better financial wellness. I'd love, Daniel, if you could come in and provide some more insights.
Yeah, one of the studies that I have absolutely worn out and given a lot of free press to was an Accenture study that came out last year that asked people what they were looking for in their relationship with their advisor. And the number one answer, 91%, the number one answer was, I want to work with someone who gets me. I want to work with someone who understands me. And I started my career in executive assessment. That's the first thing I did. I would give finance executives half-day long interviews and personality assessments and IQ tests and write up a report about what they were like. And I can attest to the magic when you are able to spit back to someone, hey, these are your values, these are your preferences, this is who you are. And there's real magic in that. But there's secondary magic here in what Mike is talking about, because we have a problem with financial literacy, right? We're always talking about financial literacy, and we're making strides in integrating financial literacy into high schools and other things. But one thing that we find is that financial literacy efforts tend to fall flat, and client follow-through efforts tend to fall flat if we don't meet a couple of conditions. It needs to be timely, and it needs to be personalized. It needs to make sense for them and their situation and be congruent with how they think about their financial lives. And this is what this tool allows you to do, is to quite literally speak their language. Because when we conducted this assessment with hundreds of people, we found that many of the things that I think financial advisors sometimes assume just don't hold true for some clients, right? There were many, many clients we talked to who were very wealthy, who just didn't care that much about money, right? And if you are approaching them, right, with this mindset that everything needs to be maximized and everything needs to be couched in terms of financial benefit, they're going to feel disconnected, they're going to feel misunderstood. And so we think this is a powerful tool, right? Back to that Accenture study. Number one answer, someone who gets me. Number two answer, someone with whom I share values. This will allow you to articulate those values, to show that you understand them, and then to combine it with AI-based reporting to really speak that language and make sure that they feel heard and that they feel understood, and that advice that you're giving them sticks, right? The best estimates of the stickiness of advice, right? We've got, depending on who you ask, somewhere between 30 and 80% of financial advice not getting implemented. And this is just another, right? This is another arrow in your quiver to make sure that your best advice gets picked up on, gets implemented, gets understood, and incorporated.
You know, a lot of times when you read surveys about what frustrates advisors with their technology stacks, the number one answer is always integration, lack of integration across the technology stack. And if you ask advisors, why do you want to integrate? It typically is not to just drive operational scale. It typically comes back to, hey, we need to personalize advice at scale. And in order to do that, we have to be efficient, we have to provide a great client experience, but being able to take the technology, integrate the experience for the advisor as far as being able to take a request, take the analytics, take the rebalancing algorithms, take the cost basis data and all the portfolio accounting data, creating a seamless workflow is great, but then now we have to go back to the client and be able to explain that in language that they understand, that resonates with them, that's personalized to them so that they feel understood. And being able to take the best of behavioral finance with the BeFi 20, take that through a very practical integrated workflow as far as raising cash for a client, tying that back into a narrative that is generated by AI is really next level. It we think is a game changer because all of this happens within seconds. So after your client has taken that behavioral questionnaire and assessment, that's stored in the system so that we know exactly, their personality. And then when you go to perform workflows for them, it's easy to then have the AI generate the narrative that you need to go back to the client, again, within seconds. So we'd love to invite you to go take the BeFi 20. Probably most of you haven't taken the BeFi 20 assessment yet. Take some time. It, I think, will immediately resonate with you, and you'll be able to see how you can use it with your clients. The BeFi 20 is a free tool for anyone that would like to use it. And then beyond that, we will continue to put advancements out about our comparison tool. That comparison tool is in beta right now, and it will go live with all of our advisors in March.
One more thing to say about the BeFi 20 tool, one of its coolest pieces of functionality is you can actually take it with a loved one. You can take it with a spouse or a partner or a child, and you can compare your financial values, your financial preferences across these 5 dimensions, and it'll actually give you recommendations for how you can kind of bridge the gap with that person you love. So we think this is a fantastic tool for engaging the non-CFO spouse. We think this is a fantastic tool for having conversations with the next generation. People who would be left cold by a conversation around stocks and bonds, I think are going to have a lot more interest in a tool like this that's going to lead to a deeper understanding of self.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, that BeFi 20 tool, we had a question come in. We initially launched that in conjunction with a marketing campaign tool, but that has since been decoupled, so anyone can take the BeFi 20 assessment. It's free and available for any advisor to use with the client or to have your clients share with each other. So, all right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.